Welcome to After Wine School, the podcast that demystifies wine and makes it approachable for everyone. Join Keith Wallace and Alana Zerbe, two of the nation's leading wine experts, as they uncork everything you need to know about wine, from picking the right bottle to mastering unforgettable food and wine pairings. This isn't about stuffy lectures or confusing jargon. It's about enjoying wine the way it's meant to be. So grab a glass and let's dive in. Don't forget to subscribe to After Wine School today.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Welcome to After School, the wine podcast.
Well,
Let's talk about, there are no more wine books in the world. I was in the bookstore a couple days ago, and there was no wine books.
okay, that's what we're talking about.
All right, then we're going to talk about that. All right.
Fantastic. And we are going to be trying a wine at the end of our little lecture or talk today. That wine is Domaine de Bia Haute. That's a Michael Chapoutier. The wine is L'Esquerda from Côte de Roussillon village.
This is awesome.
And I am Alana Zerbe. This is Keith Wallace. And we are sponsored by the National Wine School. And all of the opinions and viewpoints that we express are completely our own and do not reflect the opinions, viewpoints, or anything else of the National Wine School or any affiliates. Let's go.
All right. So maybe the opinions won't even be mine. It probably won't be yours. You'll disavow me by the end, I'm sure. Oh my God. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about wine books. Well, first off,
Well, I think, your personal story.
that's actually a great place to start because about a decade ago, I was approached to write a wine book, and it was awesome because the publisher is well known and local, and I knew their lead designer. He's like, "Hey, we want you to write a wine book." And I thought about it, and I said, "No,
Mm-hmm.
I won't do it."
Mm-hmm.
So I'll write a cookbook
Mm-hmm.
because they gave me an inside peek of what you like a baseline, how much you can make,
Right.
how many get sold, what's the likelihood of it actually hitting like a bestseller list. And I said no, because cookbooks, and I did a food and wine pairing book, Corked and Forked. It hit the bestseller list. I made a decent amount of money on it. It was awesome.
On Amazon.
Yes, on Amazon. Yes, it hit on Amazon. Look, that's good enough for me. It was the first time out. It was awesome. We did really well. And I mean, I do still think that at least 5,000 of those books were bought by my mom. I'm pretty sure. But that said, you just don't make money on wine books, from
Right.
right, and also just what it's expected from wine books. It just has to be kind of boring. They're kind of dull. I didn't want to write that kind of book. I want to write something more exciting,
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily opinion based, but I wanted to write something a little bit more people would enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I got. In a food and wine pairing book, that was fantastic. I loved writing that book. But I also brought in spirits and beer, so I could do a lot of different things.
Mhm.
There are no wine books. Have you noticed that?
Well, right. So I knew you back then, and something I would do is check out. Number one, I would go to a bookstore, which
Yeah.
God bless places that still have
Yeah.
bookstores. And at the time, the wine shelf, the wine books was maybe 1.5 good-sized shelves.
Okay.
Just wine.
So you'd have a whole shelf of wine books.
Definitely.
Okay, yeah. Oh, good.
At a
Okay, yeah,
good,
yeah, yeah.
a
Yeah,
purveyor that has a wide array of
yeah,
topics.
yeah.
And over the years, it has gotten smaller and smaller. I think the last time I was in a bookstore and checked, there were maybe 3 or 4.
Oh, wow.
It was
Yeah,
shocking.
yeah. It is. It is. I mean, it just tells you, because even back then, one of the things I did too was when I was thinking about it, I went to a bookstore near the Wine School of Philadelphia, and sadly now it's a restaurant. It's a great restaurant, but now it's a restaurant. Like they had
Mhm.
not just a shelf, but entire section of
Mhm.
cookbooks,
Mhm.
and then all other kinds of books about food. And yeah, but now I know it's shrunk and it's shrunk and it's shrunk. So the question is why? I mean, is it people don't want them, or what's going on?
Well, so we ask our students
Yeah.
before I teach the level 3 class to not refer to any books. Basically, there are
Yeah.
two that I say, are kind of the reference books that are just touchstones, and obviously that would be World Atlas and the Oxford Companion.
Yes.
Them to not look. One of the problems is that information changes so much. And so a lot of the information by the time it goes to print
Yeah.
is outdated, or at least there's something in there that needs an update and can really lead people astray. So if you're a serious wine student, I
Yeah.
do ask that you back away from those more,
Yes.
and we talk about them as consumer oriented
Yes,
books, that
that's
they're
true.
made
Yeah.
for the general
Yeah.
public, and that oftentimes you don't get a truly insider viewpoint in something that's marketed to the general public. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah. True.
it's just a problem with
Yeah.
the vehicle for information itself.
Yeah, because well, one of the things we did first off, when we were talking with the National Wine School, because we were actually developing, this is a number of years, quite a few years ago now, developing online protocols for education in the wine trade, and we were talking about there's a whole discussion about what books we should have, and I came out firmly like there's no books
Hmm.
because the publishing cost was so high, and you would have to be able to update every year.
Hmm.
And even then, you're still going to have problems.
Hmm.
So everything had to be electronic so that things could be updated when new rules came in.
Right.
Because the truth is that even like the big ones, right, the really famous books, even the ones that everyone uses in the industry, they're outdated. And they
Hmm.
could be outdated largely because we have new science.
Hmm.
It could be that we all of a sudden discover, like, that, the background of what Cabernet Franc is. Like, what
Hmm.
Cabernet Franc is and its background has changed multiple times. Grape Zinfandel, that too. But also regions change, laws change, and laws change all the time about what is an appellation, what isn't an appellation. That changes.
Even stories change.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite stories to tell, and my students know this, is the story of phylloxera, because this is something that is so important to wine history. It's a fundamental shift that happened in every wine region. There's a before and an after with phylloxera.
Right.
And when I started studying wine, it was the sort of decided belief, and I do have a book on the phylloxera epidemic, and it mentioned that the way that phylloxera arrived in southern France was likely because of botanists sharing
Right.
specimen plants, which was very, very popular during the Victorian era.
Hmm.
In fact, now it seems to be accepted widely that there was, in fact, a Rhone winemaker
Hmm.
who did want to plant Native American vines in the soils in the Rhone Valley, which is hard to wrap my head around. But so I've had to make that adjustment
Yes.
in my storytelling, and I did the research. I tried to verify it as much as I could, and I did see it being talked about in
Yeah.
a number of reputable resources. So now that's how I tell the story. But even so,
Yeah.
things
Oh,
that
yeah.
seem fundamental and like it's not going to shift, it's a story from over 100 years ago, it still can change.
Yeah, our understanding of history changes. We get more documentation, but also like science changes.
Right.
Like behind us right now, is what we put on our set here. Those of you who are watching this, there's a bunch of books back there out of focus intentionally because they're all out of date. Some of them are actually books from UC Davis from my first year and a half at studying, and yeah, they're outdated. Even the science gets outdated. Stories evolve, our understanding of the past evolves, and moving forward too. And because climate change is not just climate change, on a macro level, but also on a micro level. You have variations are by rules, right? This happens. So
Mhm.
what the style of wines we're making,
Mhm.
like if you're talking about Willamette Valley, for instance,
Mhm.
the Pinot Noirs that they were producing 20 years ago are completely different what they are today. They used to be much more varietally correct, much more, and currently, like you're saying, in the beginning of the 21st century, they're bigger and more unctuous, and partly that's because the climate is changing there, but also preferences are changing.
Mhm.
And I guarantee you, in 10 years from now, that's gonna be different too, and that means that when we have to update everything. So when we're teaching the advanced program,
Mhm.
I actually have to point out so many times when books are wrong, like some of the most respected books, because they're out of date or there's really incorrect information and they haven't actually changed it over multiple different editions, and you see the same problems over and over again. And so that's also, even teaching wine, you can't trust the books. I go to Google Scholar or whatever scholarship I do. That's where all my
You
research
read
comes from.
academic papers.
Yeah, all of them.
I have extensive Google alerts. And just on any wine topic under the sun, I read through almost daily Google alerts. And that is honestly how I stay on top of what developments are happening in the wine world.
Yeah.
So you go to academic papers,
Yes.
I'm doing Google alerts. We're not buying books. So
Yes.
that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
major, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, none of our students are because we offer everything electronically now. Everything has to be electronic so that it can be
It can be
updated.
updated.
So they have access because it changes.
Yes.
I've had things change within a month of me being teaching a class. And so I'm like, oh, I have to change how I'm talking.
We had book sent to us from UC Davis publishers
Yes.
that I reviewed, and again, it's a beloved book, and I enjoy it as well. But I found 2 mistakes, and they had already gone to print.
Yeah.
It,
And that's
it just
funny.
It happens.
Yeah.
happens.
And one of the reasons why actually that press no longer sends those books is we found so many errors.
Well,
I sent one back.
book you really.
This can't go. There's nothing about this that's actually correct.
And they said,
Yeah, that was the last time. So, and this leads into the other thing because it's also because this specific author that I just slant, it was supposed to be science, but it was all opinion. Like it was opinion dressed in
that's
scientific
right.
jargon. And it was, about natural wine, which was a big movement for a while.
And that's
Hi.
After Wine School is proudly supported by the National Wine School, the gold standard in professional wine certifications. Whether you're dreaming of a career in the wine industry or just eager to take your wine knowledge to the next level, the National Wine School has you covered. Their programs are trusted, rigorous, and designed for aspiring wine pros like you. Visit wineschool.us to learn more and start your journey today.
And mighty.
about that.
Exactly. No, that now they can narrow down to 20 different books. But thank you for coming off right there. But here's the other thing: outdated information. So people like us don't use them.
Yeah.
But I think the other real problem is that the attitude,
Mm-hmm.
like how they're written,
Mm-hmm.
who they're for. Like I don't know. And let me know in the let me know out there in the world. Are there any really like snooty wine people anymore? Like I know there are, but they're kind of like dying off. And that whole nose in the air, like me, when the last time I was in Burgundy, me. And that whole attitude, that is a bygone era, but they still write like that. Like
Yeah.
everything is written like we are all just, they dropped us off from our private jet and we get off and our feet never land the ground and they carry us around. Yeah, we're carrying around, or the thing, where's that thing that they used to carry the royalty on?
I know what you're talking
I know. I don't know what that is, but I like the idea of a rickshaw better, because it seems so trashy and fun. Okay, so this is it. Like, I mean, who is it? I mean, they pretend. And here's the thing: I know these writers. Some of them I've known professionally. Some of them have been students of mine, and all of them are dirt poor. Like they're not rich, they're not wealthy, and yet they write.
Not from the book.
Not from the books.
Let's
Yes.
make that statement.
All right.
But not from the book.
I'm thinking of a few people I
I
know.
know that.
So, yeah. All right.
It's
See,
a little bit harder to talk about.
I know.
Yeah.
It's funny because, and thanks for keeping me on track, not to actually ruin anyone's reputation or,
Right. Right.
But the problem, right, is that it's all a myth. It's all a game. It's all like, let's pretend that we're still like, the elite of the 19th century and pretend that we are royalty and that's how we write about it. Like, I find it offensive.
There are others who are talking more, to just and those books are great, but how many of those are you going to
That's true.
buy? It pretty much covered
Yeah.
the same information.
Yeah. And then what I find is that when some of them, it's less now, but it used to be a lot. And I think this was one of the things that especially like, I'm not saying anything that's currently published, let's say that,
Hmm.
but things previously published like 10 years ago or
Hmm.
further earlier was that they were because there's so little money in it in
Hmm.
publishing wine books that they had undisclosed benefactors.
Hmm.
Oftentimes a company
Hmm.
or importer distributors, even like big wine regions would fund some
Hmm.
parts of the books. And this happened a lot. And so like it was very biased. And you could really have somebody just write wonderful things and not mean anything.
Hmm.
And I think that is also, and that's a real problem, because how is it being funded and why? Now, yeah, it's the same reason why I wasn't going to write a wine book. I found the element of wine writing both snooty but also compromised.
Hmm.
And you know this. People don't know this, but I have background in journalism, so I am a little bit of a hard ass when it comes to honesty
Hmm.
in publishing. It has to be true.
Hmm.
If you claim it's true, you have to your best case, and you can't accept money from somebody who you're writing about. Like that is obviously a no go if you want to expect people to trust you.
Right.
Yeah, like that's why we don't. I mean, I don't take money from anybody. Not that anyone's offering me any money, with my
So, what
reputation.
would you say? So, two questions. If you are looking to learn more about wine, what is your recommendation? What resources? How would you
Oh,
go about that?
okay. See, okay, I'm highly biased. Now, let me just straight out. This is because this was always a problem coming from a winemaker, like 20 years ago, over 20 years ago now, to doing what I do. The only reason I do it is because I want people to have truth, and that's why I started our school. That's why you know. I'm on the board at the National Wine School. I insist on honesty, and so so of course
Of course, plug us.
course,
Sure.
but that's the truth,
No,
but
no, no.
that's all I want.
Yeah.
I don't need to write another book or write anything else, but this is the thing that I believe in. I want people to have honest, and that's why we do this.
Hmm.
Just talk about things, be really honest about things.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, our classes, I think, are the only things that are honest out there. And I think that the National Wine Schools, what they publish, online, I think that's what people need to look at. And that's why I do it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Great answer.
Yeah, okay.
And
Gotcha.
so, what about someone who's a great writer and passionate about wine?
Yeah.
Maybe thinking about, well, I'd like to write a book, or
Oh.
I'd like to express my creativity somehow. How
Oh.
would you recommend that person if they're interested in wine? Will it
Yeah.
be, I mean, is it blogs? Is it Substack? What
Yeah.
would you recommend? A podcast? Like, what would
Right now, like, where can you monetize good writing?
you? Mm-hmm.
Podcasts are hard.
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely, yeah, Substack, a newsletter. Like
Mm-hmm.
to this day, we have our own newsletter, not on Substack, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that I think is a really good idea. I also think that, you know, if you want to, it's a hard industry like for a writer to get into right now. I gotta say, that's very hard.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it, I would really recommend finding something else that you'll use this as your passion project
Mm-hmm.
to build up a reputation and not expect to make money on that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you have to make money doing other things. Why, giving talks, running like
Mm-hmm.
classes, wherever you are. If they have the education, if they build up their knowledge base, opening up a wine school, like these are things that
Mm-hmm.
actually are smarter ways
Mm-hmm.
and more, honestly, just, yeah, coming from being a writer, I don't know right now if
That's
that's
the
actually a
honest but
possibility.
that's the honest answer, and that's
Yes.
what I wanted to for
Yeah.
you to just state, let
Yes.
people know.
Yeah.
It's not not trying to pull up the gate or
No.
drawbridge behind us,
No.
or you, more accurately,
Yeah.
but it truly is really a bygone era
It is.
for right now.
Where people are getting their information, I mean, it is things like podcasts.
Mhm.
We started doing this because realized that everyone's afraid to do a podcast where you can be honest about things.
Mhm.
So we wanted to be a little bit of a vanguard to do this, and just so that I can just, drop an F bomb and
Mhm.
whatever, and then say it's okay to be, like normal and just be able to talk about it as a passion and a love and do it intelligently, but not be snooty about it. Like break this paradigm. Once we break that paradigm, especially the old white guy, because basically we need less old white guys in this to make this more fun.
For sure.
And which is something that I say to people in class, because it's always some old white guy who's making a problem for everybody else. And I stand up there like, look, I'm the only old white guy who has to be here. And boom, laughter. And then that guy goes like, oh,
Mhm.
which is great.
Mhm.
And that's like, yeah, but there is like, we've owned this spot for a long time. There needs to be new blood.
Yeah.
And there is, it's just a lot. And it's coming. They're figuring it out. But yeah, it is going to be, I'm not going to know
Yeah.
where it's going to come from. I know that, from wine education is a great place to be. It's a place that but yeah, but we do. And there are writers, and a lot of the people who are writers who started with us, there are plenty of them
Of course, yeah.
and who make a living, but they also do, that's only a part of what they do. They
Correct.
use it as a part of the whole. And the most successful ones, there's all other kinds of elements. It's just a part of what they are.
Mhm.
And that's important to understand that's, and it's never just what
It's never
happens.
just wine writing.
But here's the thing. Okay, there's gonna be somebody out there right now
Mhm.
who's gonna figure it out,
Mhm.
and that is gonna be the next, Robert Parker or whomever, who nobody knows. By the way, Google that, because no one remembers who that was. And he was like the most important person in wine like 20 years ago. But yeah, it's gonna happen. We just don't know how it's gonna happen. It's not gonna be me. It's not
Mhm.
gonna be you.
Mhm.
But there's someone out there who is gonna actually, and there's gonna be a group of people who are going to find the way, and I'm looking forward to that.
I love that. Well, let's drink to that.
So hey, pull out
Oh.
that bottle, because I already showed them, but so that they see it. Oh, no, she almost dropped the ball. She pulled it out for the camera for the folks who are watching this via, on video, and she almost dropped the bottle. And
Wow.
this specific bottle of Chapoutier, what's it called? What's it called again?
La Squerda.
La Squerda. And this is from the Côte de Roussillon. And
Thing.
unlike most wines from Roussillon, this is mostly Syrah,
Mhm.
which is my
Smells like it.
yeah, I know. Now,
Yeah.
all right. So before we started, you described this in a way as the best way I've ever heard Syrah described. And I'd like you to say it again. I want you to, yeah.
Well, we started from a very gross place.
Yes. Oh, I was talking about arterial blood flow, and because I have some, I have old students who are trauma surgeons, and whenever they smell Syrah, they're like, hmm. They start describing surgeries and trauma surgeries, and it was gross.
It was a lot.
It was a lot.
So,
Yes.
first of all, the nose on this, it's so Chapoutier to me. It really does take me back. It just smells like Hermitage.
It does.
So putting aside the arterial blood, it's more of that iron,
Yes.
but also
Yes.
lots of oak and earthiness. Thought what came to my mind was a butcher block, but a used butcher block.
Yeah.
So maybe you had been making hamburgers or
Yeah.
breaking down a chicken or something.
Yeah. No, it would be definitely, yeah.
Rabbit or
Rabbit.
something stinky.
Yeah, beef. It's just definitely beef. So what I was thinking, so when you were talking about that, I was thinking, so in my hometown, there is this butcher, or used to be. He's not there anymore because he retired, his mom retired.
Mhm.
And this is the kind of butcher where they would actually, like, they would skin your,
Oh, that guy.
yeah, that guy, his mom skinned the rabbit for you. But his butcher block, because it was so, I don't know how old it was,
Yeah.
it was just creviced because he had butchered so many animals on that.
Oh my
And it
God.
had that smell. It had very distinct woodsy note, but it also was just like, it had a very distinct animal
Mhm.
quality,
Mhm.
gamey quality,
Mhm.
which is the fancy way of saying this. The other way of talking about this is actually Slim Jims.
Of course.
Because that slightly gamey, slightly rancid meat, that's preserved meat, when you smell it, you're like, I think I could eat that.
It's so much preservative.
Yeah, that like, oh, I'm not sure I should, but I don't think it's gonna kill me.
Mhm.
That smell of Syrah, which is my favorite. Yeah. Hey, what I was talking about, like what my favorite wines are. This is it. But then of course it all has all those dark fruit and a little bit of red fruit and all that oak, which is cinnamon and allspice in the background.
Herbaceousness.
Yes, which did you notice it's actually like probably coming from that little bit of Grenache in there, but it's coming off as like blue flowers
Mm-hmm.
and and that's really nice.
I like that.
Oh, this is pretty.
Lisa Funny warning.
Oh, what are we gonna
Bringing
taste now?
up.
Gargle. Mm. Mm. Totally get it. If
So
blood
delicious.
tasted like this, I'd be a vampire too. You know?
I'm not the biggest Syrah fan, but
No.
this man's wines, my
Yeah.
goodness.
Well, I mean, so yeah, because a lot of times Syrah will get a little too fat, a little too round,
Mhm.
trying to push the envelope a little, but his wines are always
Mm.
balanced. Like there is just enough acidity here, which is also interesting. There's usually more in Roussillon. It's just a little cooler up in the hills where this is
Mhm.
harvested, grown, versus Languedoc, which is, so this is the Roussillon part of Languedoc-Roussillon. Languedoc, flatter, more Mediterranean. This is actually up in the hills going into the Pyrenees. And if you kept on going, you would end up in Spain,
Mhm.
and this is, the Catalan region. And this is the little part of Catalan region that's actually in France. But so up in these hills, up in the Pyrenees mountain range where you're in the foothills, it's cooler. It's much cooler. We use the term diurnal weather shift, where it's cooler at night, retains some acidity, a lot of it. And so you have this freshness along with your voluptuousness, and it's just balanced.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
They need to go. I don't want them to go. I love this wine.
Thanks for joining us. If you would like to reach out, send a comment, a question, feel free. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh God, yeah. Questions are great. Yeah, look, and if you have anything you want us to talk about, you have any comments, suggestions, but very much, look, if you like this, awesome. Give us 5 stars. Say it's the best thing you ever listened to. But even more importantly, like let your friends know about it. Get them to download this. Let them to listen to it every week. It's just a labor of love. We're trying to change the world of wine, just one F-bomb at a time.
Couldn't have said it better.
All right.
Everyone.
Cheers.
Bye. One F-bomb at a time.
Thanks for spending time with us on After Wine School. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit subscribe so you never miss out on more wine wisdom, tips, and laughs. Until next time, raise your glass, savor the moment, and cheers to you.